In 2020, the world would suffer a global pandemic, causing any form of in-person meetings to be deemed a risk. As a result of everyone spending all of their time isolated at home, this caused a spike in popularity with video game usage and video game live streaming. While most gaming communities received an increase in popularity, both with its player base and viewership, there was one gaming community in particular that this had the opposite effect on, that being the fighting game community, or the FGC for short. And the reason why almost every other gaming genre was thriving during this period while the FGC did not is for the simple reason that playing fighting games online sucks. Fighting games have a core problem that inherently makes them less enjoyable playing online compared to playing offline. And I don't think the reason for that is just because a majority of fighting games still have delay-based netcode opposed to rollback netcode, which is a whole separate problem that the genre suffers from. If you don't play fighting games and you don't know what either of those are, just imagine rollback netcode is your modern-day high-speed internet service provider, and delay-based netcode is basically old-school outdated dial-up internet. Yes, it's 2022 and some people are playing fighting games online with dinosaur netcode. And yes, it's me. I am people. This isn't a debate on delay-based netcode versus rollback netcode, because in my opinion, there is no debate. Rollback is superior, and there's no reason why any new fighting game, or any old fighting game for that fact, doesn't have it yet. Fighting games have something that sets them apart from any other type of video game. It's the biggest appeal of the genre, and when it comes to online play, fighting games online will never be able to perfectly recreate that. And that special something that makes fighting games so unique is intimacy. And when I say intimacy, I don't mean the sexual kind. I mean when you're beating your opponent so badly that you can't help but chant,
"Somebody's getting fucked! Get fucked! Somebody's getting fucked! Get fucked! Somebody's getting fucked! Somebody's getting fucked!
What I mean by fighting games being intimate is that they are purely 1 versus 1 games. Other quote-unquote esports games obviously have skill in them, but you have to factor in your teammates and their performance. Battle Royale games only got as popular as they did because of that random element they have every match. Even card games, which are also 1 versus 1, aren't the same. Your opponent can brick, and the cards you draw in your opening hand can literally decide the game before the first move. Fighting games are consistent. Regardless of what fighting game it is or how broken that game is, when you finally get into a match, everything is the same with no random elements involved. Unless you play Faust or Hero, who literally have RNG items built into their toolkit, but you get the point. When you turn the corner and get into a shootout, you don't know 100% what gun the other guy is using until he fires the first bullet. Your opponent can have a spicy tech card that completely counters your deck that you didn't know they played until they activated it. If you do your homework in fighting games, you know what to expect. Ryu has a fireball, he has the Tatsu, and he has the DP. Ryu won't randomly teleport because that's a completely different character. Because you can count on the game state before rounds start to always be the same, out of all the competitive genres, in my opinion, fighting games feel the closest to chess and checkers. But just imagine in chess, I can go rook overtake your bishop into pop V-trigger, and now you have to play me in rock paper scissors for game. There's this saying I use a lot, where I say playing a fighting game match against someone is just like having a conversation. It's one-on-one. You and your opponent are feeling each other out, trying to pick up on your neutral habits and your defensive habits, constantly playing mind games with each other. And the longer you play against someone, you start to download them and eventually get a grasp on their playstyle. And weirdly enough, you can judge someone off their playstyle in-game, and sometimes you can tell their personality in real life off of that. For example, if someone plays so obnoxiously annoying and irritable that playing them just makes you want to scream into your pillow, there's actually a high chance that the person you're playing is extremely nice. I don't know why, but that's just how it is. The nicest people you'll ever meet play like complete psychopaths. That's why I'm someone that will DP on your wake up. I'm just trying to convey to you that I have a heart of gold. The one-on-one aspect of fighting games is what got me interested in the genre in the first place. I like how when you lose, it's all on you. There's no one else to blame. Vice versa, I like how when you win, that's also all on you. You earned it, making it extremely rewarding. Fighting games are honestly great for people with social anxiety. You never have to worry about letting your teammates down. There's never that feeling where you die in an MMO raid and you feel like you're just an inconvenience to everyone else. If you suck at fighting games and can't make it out of bronze rank, that's fine because there's people in the same rank as you to play that are on your level. Communication isn't a requirement to play. There's chat boxes in game, but you don't have to use those, and 90% of people who play fighting games don't even own a mic, except those random toxic MK players you'll run into, but you just laugh at them because they're clowns.
Fuck you, you're gay ass fuck, bro.
What?
Fuck you and your motherfucking mom, like, this shit.
There's 1,000,001 reasons why fighting games will never be as popular as other genres, and I think the reason why games like COD, Apex, and Fortnite are so popular with casuals is because they feel like social games. And what I mean by that is that they are games you play with your friends. I love Modern Warfare 2. I remember I used to play a ton of it when I was 13. I got into the game because that's what all my friends were playing, and it was a game we all played together. Eventually, when we moved on to high school and went our separate ways, we wouldn't play Modern Warfare with each other anymore. And while I still love that game and the time I spent with it, it got me thinking, was it the game I loved, or was it the fun times I had playing with my friends after school that made me love the game? And my experience with fighting games is the exact opposite of this. I saw a cool clip of a tournament match and decided I want to try playing that game. None of my other friends were interested, it was only me. It was a decision I made myself. So I would play online for a year by myself because I enjoyed them casually. And then when I went on to college, I met people who were also passionate about fighting games. We all went to our first tournament together, and I met more people that were into what I loved. And while I don't keep up with any of my friends from elementary school, high school, or even some friends I met in college, it was those friends I made through fighting games that I still keep up with to this day. The point I'm trying to make is that games like COD, Apex, League, whatever it is, those are games that you play with your friends. But fighting games are games that allow you to make friends. And it all comes back to that intimacy factor that fighting games have. Some games you only play because your friends are into them. But with fighting games, regardless of how you initially got into them, it's still all about you. That's why if you go to a fighting game tournament or any type of gathering, you can assume you have a lot in common with the person sitting next to you. Because regardless of what country they are from or what language they speak, it doesn't matter if their friend bought the game for them, if he drove them to the venue, or if they barely even play the game. Both of you are only sitting next to each other because you individually made the decision to be there and to play fighting games together. You could have gotten into the genre initially because of your friends, but at the end of the day, it is still you who has to put the time in training mode to get better. And I can assure you for a fact that I wouldn't have fallen in love and spent so much time with fighting games if I was still playing online and never played my friends in Street Fighter 4 on a small Dell laptop in a vacant classroom while we were all going to college. Recently I got into Yu-Gi-Oh! They finally released their online simulator, and I love playing card games on my phone. It's marketed as the best way to play the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. And a common sentiment that I've seen from the community regarding that game is that you can never replace the feeling of playing physical cards in person. Now, as a fighting game player, I thought that was one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Because it's a card game. My favorite fighting game is barely playable online, while card games basically don't have to worry about lag and delay at all. It doesn't matter if you own the card physically or in-game. The card says an effect, and it does what it says. Who cares if you're playing in person? However, it wasn't until my first Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament when I understood what they meant. When I walked into the venue, took a deep breath, and smelled the air. Oh shit. Yeah, this is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament, alright. When I went to my first tournament, I met up with an old friend from high school who I didn't even know was into the game. I met people willing to talk about strategies and willing to help me improve. And I traded with some players for some cards, and then I understood. It was the social aspect that everyone loves so much about Yu-Gi-Oh! And as a fighting game player, I could relate. Because look, fighting games online are important. They're a great resource you can use to train, and realistically speaking, that's where most people will spend most of their game time in, if not all of it. But despite how many hours I sunk into fighting games online, I struggle to recall any stories that I can tell from it, where I can tell you a bunch of stories from me playing fighting games offline in person. I remember the first fighting game match I ever played offline. I walked into my college game club and saw two people playing Street Fighter 4, so I asked to get next. I was playing the local Guile player and it was down to the last round. I was losing pretty badly, but I had about 5% life left. I managed to get a sweep in, and I baited his wake-up flash kick, and I punished him with a fat ultra. On wake-up, he did a reversal flash kick again, and I blocked it again. I was still pretty new, so I didn't do the most damaging combo, but it was a punish nonetheless. At this point, his life is beginning to look like mine, so a throw would kill him. I hard baited his reversal 2 times in a row, so surely he wouldn't do it again. I mean, we're both in college. I assume he's smart enough not to do it again. I think he's just gonna sit there and block because now he's scared, so I will throw him. Now, obviously to everyone but past me, this bastard did it a 3rd time in a row, and I lost. The whole room erupted, and this dude who I didn't even know his name yet is popping off on me. He's giving me the Mentos fresh look and pointing to the camera that isn't even there. I'm sitting there contemplating throwing my stick on the floor. And the guy in the story is still a really good friend of mine to this day. It's a story we look back on and laugh at. There was also this other time when I went to a local Street Fighter V tournament because the game just came out and I was playing casuals against a newer player. At this point, I've been playing fighting games for a little over a year, so I can tell my opponent was very new by the way he was moving in neutral. He felt uncomfortable. Obviously nothing wrong with that. Everyone starts somewhere. We were playing the classic Ryu vs Ken match with me on Ken. No words were exchanged, but I beat him 5 games straight, and he looks me dead in the eyes and says, "You not doing shit, I'm playing Ken now." The results looked to be the same, but in the second round he beat me up so badly he stunned me. He then began to do the in-game taunt, into teabag me, into DP for the kill, into unplug his controller and walk out the venue. I sat there in shock because I had just met him 1 hour ago. I didn't even know this guy's name and never spoke a word to him. But you know what? I'm okay with getting stunned and embarrassed like that, because I can guarantee that was the moment he fell in love with fighting games, and my loss is a small price to pay for that. It's only because both of these stories happened in person that I'm able to share these with you. If they happened online, it would have been a scrub quotes post you'd look at for 5 seconds and keep it pushing, blocking it out of your memory. It was only because I lost to this guy hitting me with a wake-up flash kick for the 3rd time in a row that we became friends. I would have never met him if I was playing online, and I probably wouldn't be here talking right now if I never played fighting games outside my house. If you take anything away from this video, you can play fighting games online and have fun. And you can even make friends from playing fighting games online with resources like Twitter and Discord now connecting people. But if fighting games are something you are passionate about or even have a small interest in, you really owe it to yourself to visit a huge major, a small local, or even go grab a buddy and play some games at each other's house when the world stops being as crazy as it is and things can be normal again. Because it doesn't matter how good and seamless the online is. I think fighting games are always meant to be played when you're right next to your opponent. They bring you together and they allow you to meet some people you wouldn't otherwise that you might just end up having lifelong friendships with. Even as a spectator, you can see the whole energy is completely different and people playing offline are just having more fun. And that to me is the real authentic FGC experience that playing these games online can never give you. And that's why offline can never be replaced.